There's an elusive engine that could pull a fully loaded 80,000-pound semi-truck from a complete dead stop in top gear. No clutching, no shifting, no transmission abuse. Just pure, unstoppable torque that made physics professors scratch their heads and competitors panic. This is the Mack 300 Maxidyne, and this impossible engine didn't just break every rule in the book, it literally saved a dying company and changed trucking forever. Picture this. It's 1966. Mack Trucks, the legendary bulldog, is dying. Severe cash flow problems, competitors eating their lunch, and the engines are getting absolutely destroyed by Cummins and Detroit Diesel. The executives had two choices. Number one, play it safe with conventional technology and slowly go bankrupt, or bet the entire company on an engine design that every engineer said was impossible. They chose to gamble everything. And what happened next changed the entire trucking industry forever. Here's where your mind gets blown. Every diesel engine in 1966 made peak torque around 1600 to 1800 RPMs. The Maxidyne? Peak torque at 1200 RPM. But wait, it gets crazier. This engine had a 52% torque rise. That means at low RPM, it was making 52% more torque than at its rated horsepower point. In a world where most engines had 15 to 20% torque rise, this was like bringing a rocket to a bicycle race. Unlike the average engine, which lost its guts below 1600 RPM, the Maxidyne produced peak torque at 1200 RPM and had a usable power band that was double what anyone thought possible. Now, here's where Mack got absolutely diabolical. While everyone else needed 10, 13, even 15-speed transmissions to haul heavy loads, the Maxidyne only needed a simple 5-speed transmission. That's not a mistake. 5 speeds to do what other engines needed 15 speeds to accomplish. Truckers were literally starting in 4th or 5th gear with full loads and never shifting down. This allowed a heavy Class 8 truck to be operated like it had a completely different physics engine running it. And here's the part that made this engine legendary among the truckers. That truck would pull any hill it came across and blew black smoke out its stack all the time. The truck could crest the top of a 6% grade at about 25 miles per hour in 4th gear, something that would bring other trucks to their knees, forcing them to downshift multiple times and crawl up at only 5 miles per hour. That black smoke wasn't a bug. It was a feature. It was the visual proof that this engine was doing something that no other engine could do. While Cummins and Detroit Diesel were fighting the horsepower wars, 300 horsepower, 350 horsepower, 400 horsepower. Mack said, "Hold our beer," and released an engine with just 237 horsepower. That could outpull engines with 300 or more horsepower. This novel engine produced 237 horsepower with peak torque at 1200 RPMs and delivered a usable power band up to 2,100 RPMs. Competitors were furious. They'd spent decades convincing customers that more horsepower meant better performance. Then Mack shows up proving that torque curve was everything and horsepower was just a marketing gimmick. But Mack wasn't done. In 1973, they dropped the ultimate bomb, the Intercooled E&DT 676 Maxidyne with 285 horsepower and a whopping 1,080 foot-pounds of torque. 1,080 foot-pounds. To put that in perspective, most car engines today make 200 to 300 foot-pounds. This truck engine was making over 1,000 foot-pounds when disco was just getting started. And here's the crazy part. The later 4V300 Maxidyne put out an impressive 1,425 foot-pounds. That's almost 1,500 foot-pounds of pure tire shredding torque. Truckers drove these beasts will tell you stories that sound like lies. Starting a fully loaded truck from a dead stop without touching the clutch. Pulling grades that would stop other trucks cold. Never having to worry about losing momentum. Jack drove mostly Macks in his 43 years of trucking. The one that he still thinks about is his old 1980 R600 with a 300 Maxidyne. That's a 43-year trucking veteran saying this was the engine that he remembered most. But, guys, here's what Mack didn't advertise. Experienced drivers learned that they could adjust the fuel settings and squeeze even more torque out of these monsters. Some were reportedly making over 1,500 foot-pounds at the rear wheels. You know what? I gotta pause here because while we're talking about truckers who love the Maxidynes, there's a story that I need to share with you. And honestly, it really got to me. Today's video is sponsored by the American Trucking Legacy Club. And this month, they're honoring Midwest Coast Transport. Now stick with me, because just like those Maxidyne engines had their drivers' backs out on the road, this company understood what really mattered. Midwest Coast ran from the 60s to the early 2000s. Medium-sized fleet, nothing flashy, but they had a driver named Tommy Rodriguez. Single dad who drove nights so he could be home when his daughter Sarah got off the school bus every afternoon. The same dedication those Maxidyne engines showed to their trucks. Tommy showed to his family. Sarah got her first piano recital. Tommy's supposed to be back by 3 p.m. But you know trucking, a blown tire outside Omaha puts him 3 hours behind. He's radioing dispatch, panicking because he promised his little girl he'd be there. The Midwest Coast dispatcher patches him through to every single driver on the road that day. Just like those Maxidyne engines helping drivers up mountains and avoid breakdowns. Within 20 minutes, another driver named Frank volunteers to swap loads at a truck stop. Tommy makes it to the recital with 5 minutes to spare. Sarah Rodriguez, now a music teacher in Des Moines, Iowa, she told the Legacy Club Midwest Coast didn't just deliver freight. They delivered dads to their daughters. That company's been gone for years. But the spirit of drivers looking out for each other, that's what this November represents. See, we talk about legendary engines like the Maxidyne, but the real legend was always the drivers and the companies that treated them like family. When you join the American Trucking Legacy Club, you're not just buying a shirt. You're keeping alive the memory of companies that understood family comes first. The link to join is down in the description. Sarah ordered one for herself and one for Frank's family. That should tell you everything. Now, back to why those Maxidyne engines created such loyal drivers. When the Maxidyne hit the market, it caused chaos in Detroit. Cummins, Detroit Diesel, and Caterpillar suddenly realized their high RPM, high horsepower philosophy was wrong. Within years, everyone was scrambling to copy Mack's torque rise technology. The Cummins high torque copy had 7 gears compared to Mack's 5, but they were still playing catch up. Mack had forced the entire industry to completely rethink how diesel engines should work. One engine design changed everything.
And here we go, guys. This is the Mack R model with a 40-foot vintage dry van trailer, graphicked up to celebrate the 300 Maxidyne, one of Mack's most famous engines. It is in the Mack box because this was made for the 125th anniversary of Mack Trucks, celebrating 125 years on top. It's got the Mack 125th anniversary on each end, and then special built like a Mack on the back. Very fancy box. They did several different versions of the trucks for the anniversary, and they got one more still coming. It hasn't made it out yet, and we'll have to wait for it to be seen soon. You can see it has the Mack licensing marks, and it has the UPC, and it has a Mack part number of M3171, and also a first gear part number of 60-2022. On a lot of the Mack runs, they do have a specific part number printed specifically for Mack on the model, because that's the way Mack has them done, and then they also give them the first gear number as well. Pretty cool. It is not the standard box. It's this anniversary special packaging that all of them have come in. I got a Mack Magnum coming soon on the Super Liner with an end dump, so subscribe so you don't miss that one. And then let's go on and open this guy up and take a look at it. Another note about the packaging: instead of the standard mural, it has a gold printed background. Pretty cool. And then the model, of course, is in the 2-piece blister, and it's taped together. And of course, unlike the rest of them, this one does not have an extra set of mirrors. The trailer is the DCP, and the cab is a first gear. And there it is, out of the package. Isn't that an odd color? Well, I would totally agree with you if that's what you said, because I think it's an odd color myself. But I think it's still a pretty cool color. It's kind of a mustard yellow. It's got a gold lettering here for the 300 Maxidyne, really fancy lettering. Then it's got red, a big red stripe, some white stripes, and then some little blue pinstriping in there on the cab. And it's also got the 300 there. They chose the R model because the R model was the first to carry the Maxidyne engine. This is the DCP vintage trailer based on an old Fruhoff. It has the 300 Maxidyne on the side. It is white, all white, white bottom, white sides, white top, which we don't see too many with a white top. We have the marker lights on top row. There's no on the bottom. You can see the 300 Maxidyne on the side. It is a dry van. Underneath, screw down type landing gear. It has the spare tire and wheel there with the 5-spoke wheel in it that is painted, the little loop, and then the sliders for the tandems. Plus you got brake canisters there. And you can see here we've got the 5-spoke Dayton wheels that have been around for a long time, soft rubber tires. They painted them white rims and then yellow spokes, the mustard yellow spokes, which kind of matches the Maxidyne gold lettering they got on the side. On the back, We got the opening back doors, and we should have the wooden interior, which we do. Brake lights, turn signals, tampos. We've got just plain black mud flaps. The ICC bumper, no DOT striping because they didn't back in the 60s. And then you got 3 marker lights up high. Over on the passenger side, looks just like the driver's, only the 300 Maxidyne is still right there, just kind of angles the same way. It angles towards the back, but it's written with the Maxidyne 300 instead of 300 Maxidyne. On the front, you can see you have your hookups there, your battery boxes for the reefer that's not there. And then we'll go on and let the landing gear down and talk about the tractor. I love that landing gear. And here is the R model that is a first gear tooling. These were made back when it was still first gear before they bought DCP. It does not have steerable front end. They're fixed axle, but it does have an opening hood. Under it, you can see the Maxidyne 300 engine in there. It has a gold Bulldog. It has the turn signal there. It's got 300 right there and R model up there, just like the real ones. So it's a great looking little truck. The battery box there, the fuel tank step right there, 5th wheel that holds DCP and first gear trucks. You can see the drive shaft, the top of the differentials up through the frame. Just a little frame walk there, but there are no air lines on this guy. The back, we've got Mack Trucks on the mud flaps, and they're just one piece painted white and then tampoed over. Brake light and backup light in there underneath that bar, which you really wouldn't have that bar, but that's just the way they did these mud flaps. So we got it there. 5th wheel moves a little. Single stack. Most R models had single stack right there on the cab. Did have some twins, but most had the single stack, and first gear does offer it both ways. You got chrome exhaust. We got chrome air horns. The roof marker lights are tampoed silver with little tampo of orange for amber lenses. Little vent is there. You've got a silver top on the air cleaner. Chrome mirrors. Not a whole lot of chrome on this guy. And then it got a chrome bumper. That's really it. The headlights are individual jewel style. Grill is just painted silver, as are the bezels around the headlights, which on the real ones are aluminum, not really chrome anyway. The turn signals on each side are individual pieces with some clear Tamiya orange for amber lenses. The Bulldog is gold, which denotes that this guy has a true Mack engine in it. And when you open it up, you see the green Mack engine. Really nice. The air intake here. And then you've got the piping for your coolant and your air all through the engine. Interior, you have a gear shift in there. You got a black steering wheel, silver gear shift. It has not much of a dashboard, but then again, neither did the real R model. It's got tan seats, and the dashboard looks like it is tan. Rooftop white, and then the coloring of the mustard yellow. Really, really nice looking truck. It's also got a wet tank hanging on there back here for a hydraulic kit. Mainly because this truck was designed to haul the 22-foot end dumps that they came out with, so they put the wet tank on. Air tank here. Mack style rear differentials, which are geared down through the top, where the drive shaft goes into the top, is geared down into the planetary gears. And then you got the spring rear suspension, bottom of the transmission, bottom of the engine, and spring front ride. They said the R model would beat you to death when you're driving it because of that spring suspension, but you couldn't kill the dang truck. Now let's hook him up and finish this off. And that, guys, is the 1/64 scale DCP by first gear Mack R model day cab pulling a 40-foot vintage drive-in trailer celebrating the Maxidyne 300, the famous engine from Mack Trucks, and it is in special packaging celebrating the 125th anniversary of Mack Trucks. While they still last, I've got these on my website. The link is down below. And if they're not there, there are plenty of other great diecast models for you to choose from. So go on and make a purchase on my website. It really goes a long way to help keeping this channel going just for you guys. And I love doing this for you.
But here's what made truckers love these engines. They were built like tanks. The Maxidyne engine appeared in late 1966 for the 1967 model year, and many of these beasts are still running today. We're talking about engines that are over 50 years old, still hauling loads, still blowing black smoke, still pulling hills that modern engines struggle with. They don't make them like this anymore. This wasn't just an engine. It was a revolution in mechanical engineering that proved that sometimes the most radical solution is the right solution. Mack was struggling in 1966 and had severe cash flow problems, but the truck maker decided to gamble on this revolutionary engine design. That gamble didn't just save the company, it created a legend. If this story absolutely blew your mind, smash that like button, because researching the engineering behind this beast was incredible. And if you want more stories about machines that completely revolutionized their industries, hit subscribe. Next week, I'm diving into the insane story of Larson Farms, how a farming family turned their operation into a YouTube empire with millions of subscribers. From planting corn to viral videos, you won't believe how they built one of agriculture's biggest media brands. And drop a comment. Have you ever driven or seen one of these legendary Mack trucks with a Maxidyne engine?
Yes, I have.
I want to hear those black smoke stories.
They were very slow going up US 99 to Castaic Junction. They were always in the way, but they made it to the top of 5,000 plus foot grade at 6 or 7%.